And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit like God's property. It's hard to market, so we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got the drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai, okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Africani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Africani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in Northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of Northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as a Middle East, you know, and then since this the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West, where the Middle North, and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
Wells comes face to face with the man he's been searching for. A new portrait of the common ancestor of every man today. Adam. Without the skull, we can't know for sure what Adam looked like. But a combination of genetic evidence, Bender's forensic skills, and cutting-edge computer software suggests he looks something like this. Thousands of years after the Bible, and hundreds of years after Michelangelo, we have a whole new face for Adam.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro: Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai had a Nubian feature, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type, and in this sense, Shammai is representing the society of the frontier, in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just.
Where am I actually from? I mean, I know I'm American, but where my DNA is from? And so I said, well, let me take my DNA test. It was a 23andMe DNA test, and I took the test, and I was shocked when I saw the results. It came back, and it showed that I was actually a direct descendant of the Pharaoh Ramses III, and I knew nothing of the pharaohs. Didn't know much about Egypt, but everything you hear about, Bible stories and things like that. So for me, it was a huge shock, and that's how I found out about it.
Wow. So obviously you took it deeper and deeper. You saw all of these synchronicities in looking at images of the pharaoh, how much you and even your brother look like them, and your own company has like an eye logo that looks like the eye of Horus, unconnected to any of this. So what did this open up for you in terms of your own knowledge and learning about this?
I remember I was actually laying in my bed on Christmas Day, 2021, and I was going through my 23andMe DNA test, and that's when I saw that I was connected to the Pharaoh Ramses III, and again, I knew nothing of this situation. And so I looked up a sculpture of the Pharaoh Ramses III, and when I saw the sculpture, I literally screamed, and my wife said, "Dexter, what's wrong?" I said, this guy from 4,000 years ago, we look just alike.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have.
The Sphinx. Wait, what happened to her nose? What happened to her nose? Why is her nose cut off?
That's why we added recently a new layer of limestone.
Did it fall off, Chad?
Everyone asks me when you just come in here, why Sphinx without nose? It's famous from Egypt and some countries. The history of man Makrizi from Islamic era, right inside his book and say, a man his name Sa'im al-Dahr do this. But why? Why Sa'im al-Dahr do this? Because he won't be proof. For some people, it is just a statue, just stone, not God. For this, he just broke a nose and say he can protect himself. What he do? He just a stone.
Oh, so he was trying to prove that the statue was not a god.
Not a god.
So he broke the nose.
Mm-hmm.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to.
Wait, I have a question. Why is his nose gone?
We have two reasons. The first one, because the erosion factors. This is the weakness point of the statue. Because the erosion factors, it's broken the nose. And maybe the second reason, because any king after this king tried to broke his nose to be the strongest one.
Oh. So just the ego thing, huh?
Yes. What do you think think?
What
They
do
are
I think?
Egyptian or not?
Am I Egyptian?
The two biggest statues. They are Egyptian or not?
Are they Egyptian?
Their bones were discovered in Kafse caves near Nazareth in Galilee in 1933. 13 fragile skeletons, one a woman, a tiny baby at her feet. When these bones were first uncovered, they were the oldest complete modern human skeletons ever found.
The numerous skeletons that have been found in caves in Israel at the sites of Kafse and Shkul show us that there were modern humans outside of Africa over 100,000 years ago. Those modern humans may well have gone up the Nile corridor through Sinai.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh. Repeat this fact, they can't laugh.
I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Hope and pray all is well with you guys. I know that I kind of shifted on what I was going to discuss tonight, so I'm just going to do a video upload for the discussion about Uganda. For those of you guys that may have seen or may not have seen my post earlier, I was going to do a live on how Uganda is now supporting or made a declaration that if the 1948ers appear to be losing to the Iranians, that they were going to jump in and help them, and it just brought back some thoughts about the history when you know about Uganda betraying Gaddafi, when you really do the history on that and you understand that the same best friend who called himself, calling out the United States and other countries for removing Gaddafi, he betrayed him. When you look at Gaddafi and his long history with Uganda, Gaddafi, and he, pretty much every time, Idi Amin had situations, Gaddafi bailed him out. Gaddafi did so much to try to bring all the nations of the continent of Africa together to unify and establish their own currencies and things along that line. He got betrayed, literally got betrayed. So I'm going to do a special video on that instead of just doing a live. So I decided to shift at the last minute. You guys probably noticed the title change from that to Proof of the Exodus. Now, this is a lesson that I did earlier at our Shabbat, and I'm doing an entire series on the Passover, Pasach, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. And what I'm doing leading up to the Passover, Pasach, what I am doing is I'm every week, I'm just dealing with confusion, things that people may not understand or know about Passover, according to the scriptures. From the calendar, which we dealt with that here a number of times, showing the actual beginning of Israel's New Year, right? And also that the actual Passover, Pasach, is actually May 2nd. The New Year for Israel is April 18th, right? And we'll revisit that again, so that way you guys can understand. And I know that may sound crazy to many of you guys because you see what's on the calendar. You see the 1948ers, you see the Christian Catholic Church. All of them are celebrating their Passover, their Easter, and all those things that's associated with it. They're getting ready to celebrate theirs. And I know that the reason why many of us are confused is like, wait a minute, why are we seeing different dates? Some Israelites are honoring Pasach on this date, or on this date, or on this date. And that's because many of our brothers and sisters, unfortunately, they know this truth. And like my old pastor would say that I was mentored by, if the pain of change is greater than remaining the same, people will rather remain the same. So if everyone else is honoring a certain date, many fall in line with that. Same thing when you start dealing with the literal name of the Father, right? Many people are saying Yahuwah now. Have no clue that Yahuwah is not his name. I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers, but it was the Sefer Bible that basically introduced that name to the community. And the owner or the creator of the Sefer Bible is really not a Sefer. It's not a Bible. It's a Sefer book because it doesn't even follow the standards and guidelines of creating a Bible translation. There's a set of guidelines. So it's actually a Sefer book. Now, I'm not going to mention some of the channels that got paid to promote that book, right? And so they were the ones that introduced Yahuwah. And so many people started what? Creatures of habit saying Yahuwah. When there was no O sound in ancient Hebrew, there's no U sound in ancient Hebrew, there's no diphthongs in ancient Hebrew. There's no OA or UA sound or OA sounds. That's all Europeans, starting with the Greeks. All right. So I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers, but I got to speak the truth. Whatever you choose to, to call and cry out, that's on you. But I just want to make sure that you guys understand this, that likewise, when it comes to the Passover, same thing. Just like the name, many started that would say Yahweh. Now they're saying Yahuwah, all because of they don't like what they're saying in certain spaces. I'm not trying to throw the camps under the bus, because most of the camps, if not all, they say Yahweh. That is the correct name. But because the reputation of many of the camps, and I'm not saying all, but some of the camps, many choose to say that they would rather use the name Yahuwah because they don't want to be associated with the behaviors that they see that's going on in the camps. But I'm here to tell you, regardless of whether we agree or disagree or whatever the behaviors of individuals or groups, it doesn't change the truth. The truth is the truth. That's why the scripture says the elect is going to barely make it, going to scarcely make it. Why? Because of what we see right now. So many are gravitating to what's comfortable to them. They're operating under herd behavior, herd mentality, because they cannot give an answer independently, free from the crowd, right? So they have to stay with the crowd so that way they can feel secured. So it's not just we're dealing with the name, not just dealing with the Passover, but we can also deal with the hierarchical. You have leaders inside this awakening that are still promoting the Catholic structure that was introduced. What do I mean by that? Right? The title bishop, pastor, elder, those are all synonymous. Those were synonymous. Those titles they were synonymous. But it was the Roman Catholic Church in the 3rd, 4th century that began to introduce this hierarchical structure, hijacked an identity along with the 1940s, that whole group hijacked an identity that did not belong to them, right? And then they began to what? Insert something into the culture that never existed. Paul never taught a hierarchical. He taught about the spiritual gifts, but the spiritual gifts is not something new. That's Torah. If you understand the law and the prophets, you will understand that being an elder, being a teacher, all those things, that fivefold ministry, it was already there. Paul did not teach something new. But these are some of the things that so many have, because of the pain of change is greater than remaining the same. Many would rather change and shift just so that way they can do what? Stay in a certain space, a certain place that's comfortable. So that's why I wanted to do this lesson, even with the proof of the Exodus. We may revisit if we have enough time. We'll revisit the redoing of the calendar, going through that again with you guys to show you the difference between what is called the point of Aries, right, and in Aries. Show you the differences between that, right? The point of Aries is equivalent or synonymous to the spring equinox, right? Sun in Aries, that's after the spring equinox. So that's so much to unpack that. Why? Because we see the sun in Aries. That's the phrase. That's what Josephus used to identify when the Israelites' New Year begins. So when the sun is in Aries, guess what? That's after the spring equinox. So that means that Israel's New Year begins at the first crescent moon, right? After the spring equinox. And if you do that, guess what's going to happen? If you just do the calculation on your calendar, you are going to land right on April 18th. And I'll challenge you before we get started here. Just type in your Google search, because it's going to show the AI, just type in, what is the sun in Aries? What's the difference between the sun in Aries versus the point of Aries or beginning of Aries? And then also add in that entry, what is the ancient, when did the ancient Israelites calendar begin? Now you put these criteria, this criteria there. I only want the information based off of the law and the prophets, along with the works of Josephus. I don't want any post 70 AD doctrine. This is we get into the rabbinic. I guarantee you do that. Whether you use Google's AI, whether you use Claude, whether you use ChatGPT, I can guarantee you are going to get the actual truth. But the key is you got to make sure that you tell it that you don't want post, you want pre, based upon the law and the prophets and the works of Josephus. And the reason why I say the works of Josephus is because he's a historian. He is a Israelite historian who made note of this, made reference to all of this. All right. I'm not getting into, I just want to be clear. I see someone posting about the Azusa Street. Not getting into all of that because there's a whole nother discussion with that I can have regarding to that Azusa Street. So I'm just going to ask you if you can just refrain from posting information about the Azusa Street, because there's a lot to unpack with that, and a lot of people are not familiar with that, and I've taught on that a number of times. All right. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. All right. So with that being said, I see a question here real quick. What do you say to the brothers and sisters who do the feast in accordance to the Southern Hemisphere? For example, for many, the Day of Atonement was yesterday. And I'm here to tell you that they're completely incorrect. It's not about, if you do things properly, they should not be celebrating the Day of Atonement. And the baseline is this. I'll say it again. The first new moon after the spring equinox is the same around the world. So if anyone is celebrating Day of Atonement, they are out of order. They're incorrect. The Day of Atonement is the 7th month of the Hebrew calendar, not the first day of the month or the first day of the new year, not the first month. It's the 7th month. So they are out of order. They're out, they're out of whack with that. All right. And I'll do it. I already did a teaching on it, several teachings on it, but I'll teach it again. The first new moon after the spring equinox, while the sun is in Aries, Abib, the season of Abib, Nisan, that's Nisim, that's the Nisim, right? That's another that's the first month according to the Babylonian calendar, right? And that's the month that, when Israel was under the Babylonian captivity, they began to take on the names of the month of the Babylonians. All right. So that's why you see Nisan or Nisium, however you want to pronounce it. So Josephus makes note of that. So that's why I can say emphatically, Israel's new year for this year, right? It begins at, according to the Gregorian calendar, April 18th. And Passover, Pasach, is on May the 2nd. All right, May 2nd. But when you go to the sundown of May 2nd, which will take you right into the Feast of Unleavened Bread. All right, which is a high holy day. We'll deal with that, family, but we're not going to do it all tonight. I see some of my peoples, like we would say back home. I see some of my peoples inside the building. I see Berean Scholar. I see Sister Carol. I'm going to drop this link here if you guys want to jump on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this lesson going. All right, I know I was a little winded in this intro, but just want to kind of show you why I'm taking this approach. All right. So nevertheless, let's go and get into it. Let's get into it. All right. And I'm going to say this. No, we don't go off of the young barley. Nope, that's not how it works. It's the first new moon after the spring equinox. And guess what? If you understand that, it's going to always line up with the beginning of Abib, the season of Abib, rather, because Abib is not a month, it's a season. So by the time you get to the full moon, which is the Passover, you will already see that the harvest, the barley, is already ripe. That's a fact. So I just want to give a little clarity on that. And I'm going to say, I see someone asking, is there a book that breaks this down? I'm going to tell you no. You're not going to find this in the books. This is me thoroughly studying and recreating the calendar off the scriptures and off of studying history and also studying, other cultures. You're not going to find it in the book. I can tell you right now, everything that you search for is going to point you, if you're not careful, to the rabbinics. When you see the term rabbinic, that's synonymous to 4th, 5th century. So that's why I said when you do your search, I gave you the parameters to enter in, but make sure you tell it not to give you any information about post 70 AD. You don't want anything about rabbinics. You don't want any of that stuff. Just give you the information off of the law, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, the prophets, which in your Bible, some of your Bibles may say major or minor prophets, but really the reason why you see it broken into 2, it's based upon the length of the book, right? So it's not based upon the weight of the message, but you'll see that Law and the Prophets and the works of Josephus, because Josephus is a 1st century historian who made note about everything that took place in 70 AD and prior to. So he's a great historian. He trumps all this modern stuff. He trumps all this so-called post-rabbinic stuff. You go off of that, I guarantee you that'll help you with your search. But we'll get into it, family. I know that's a lot of information that I just shared. We'll get into it. But also I do have a playlist that is called a foundational playlist. And there's a 3-part series about when is the resurrection? What day did he rise? And I literally walk you through. But we're going to revisit that, right? Because I'm going to give you some additional information. All right. But let me go and bring my family in here real quick so that way we can get started. And Want to say peace and blessings. Shout outs to you, Berean scholars. Shout outs to you, Sister Carol. Want to say peace and blessings to you guys.
Peace and blessings to you, my brother.
Peace and blessing.
All right, how you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well.
That's
I'm
great.
doing good, good. Great to be with the family.
Absolutely. And I want to say to you guys, as well as those that are in the chat, thank you guys for your prayers. Thank you for your love and support as my family is going through this time of bereavement. And I will say I have to really give my mother-in-law some big props. Some of you guys may not know, but she gave up her last breath in Tanzania. She spent her last 4 years of her life there. She wanted to just retire there and give up her last breath there. She did a lot with the local community there. I'm not going to get into the details until I plan on going over to see some of her works to keep it going that she had established in the local community over in Tanzania. She was in Dar es Salaam. You know, she did a lot over there. But with that being said, I want to say thank you guys again for your thoughts, your prayers. Thank you for the love and support. And that's what this is all about. You know, we pour out so much, but just like Moses, he needed others to hold his hands up. Instead of trying to take him to an altar, they built an altar to him. They brought the altar to him, lifted his hands up and put rocks on his back, you know, just to make sure that he was able to be effective in where he was, the space that the Most High had him functioning in. So I thank you guys again. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Absolutely. All right, guys, you guys ready to get it going here? Like we would say back in the day, get it cracking.
Let's get it on.
Let's get it on.
All right, you know, Marvin Gaye. You Marvin Gaye. You know, Houston always got to be different, right?
That's right. Don't mess with Texas.
H-Town.
Don't mess with Texas. H-Town in the house.
So family, let's get into this here, because there's the question of, you know, are there any proof that the Exodus occurred, right? And there are people that was in this awakening that helped so many of you guys, right? Introduce you guys into some of you guys into this awakening, and then they flipped the script on you. Like that guy, I always mess his name up, Drawback Jacob, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah.
You know, did a whole series, and all of a sudden he just disappeared, and then he became the Aquapina, Aquapina, whatever, queen or whatever of Aquapina, god, or whatever he was doing with the, irrigation and, growing plants and growing vegetables and all that stuff. And then before you know it, now he's teaching stuff saying that the Exodus never occurred, the Israelites didn't exist, and he's taking on talking points of modern Egyptologists. And we see this pattern with others, right? So have you guys heard that before? That the Exodus didn't exist. There's no proof. There's no proof with the in Egypt, there's no Egyptian writings or anything like that even remotely suggests that there was an Exodus. So we're going to give you clarity here. We're going to really walk you through, give you some facts. All right. Any comments before we get started, Sister Karen Berean Scholar?
No, go ahead.
All right. You guys know how we do. Just jump in and, anytime, just let me know. All right. So let's delve into this, family. Let's dive into this rather. Proof of the Exodus. What is the Exodus? Did the Exodus exist? Are there any proof that this event ever occurred? What is the meaning of the word Exodus? These are some of the things that we're going to cover right now. What is the original name of this book? The original name of this book is the names, if we want to be more specific, the names of the sons of Israel. That is the name of this book, not Exodus. It's the names of the sons of Israel, right? So it'll be Ha, Sham, Wath, Ban, Yah, Yashara'al. All right, so let's break this down, family. Let's break this down. All right. So let's start with Exodus chapter 1, verse 1. And I'm going to prove this to you, especially when you start understanding the ancient texts. And when you start looking at the different books for far as Deuteronomy, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, when you look at those books, right, the actual name of the book is contained normally within the first sentence or within the first paragraph, the name of that book. Because, like, for example, Genesis, actually it's Barashayath, in the beginning, right? So you'll find that within that first few lines, first couple of lines, you will see the actual name of the book. Now here, look at what this says here. Now these are the names Shamwath or Shamawath, however you want to pronounce it, of the children Ban Yah or Banayah of Israel, Yashara'al, right? Or Yashara'al-lah, if you put the I at the end, right? So it says here, now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Now, if I back up here, now zoom this in so you can see the names here, just to further prove it here, confirm this here. Let me zoom it in, right? You see Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, right? And the reason why you see one missing here is that's Joseph. That's why it mentions here, every man and his household came with Jacob, right? Where does it say? Verse 5, and all the souls who came out of their loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. So these are the sons of Jacob that migrated to Egypt. But again, Joseph was already in Egypt. And I want you guys to circle Issachar, and I also want you to circle Asher. That's going to those are going to be some signs that we're going to use to further prove that the Israelites, excuse me, were enslaved in Egypt, and that there was a, if you want to use the word Exodus, or if you want to say journey, but there was a movement, there was a departure from there, right? Sa'ah. We're going to break this down here. Okay. Now, this has nothing to do with the church. Just want to make sure we understand that this has nothing to do with the church. The church is not Israel. The church did not replace the bloodline Israelites. So the book of Exodus, really the name of it should be the names of the sons, or the sons of Israel, or the names of the sons of Israel, however you want to put it, pronounce it, whatever label you want to use, but truly start off with the names. But to make it more specific, so it's not vague, the names of the sons of Israel. Okay. All right. So the Hebrew definition, right, of that word name, I gave you the pronunciation of it. The Israeli would say shame. The ancient Hebrew pronunciation of this is actually sham, or shama, but sham, which means mark or memorial of individuality. So this is saying that it could be what? A literal name. But also we see here by implication, honor, authority, character, fame, infame, infamous, renowned, report. And down in the bottom here, you can't see it because it's kind of dark here. You'll see glory, reputation, glory. All right. So make a note of that, because that simple word can help change your understanding of when you're reading passages. When you see something that says And if you ask in my name, when Christ says, if you ask anything in my name, guess what you're doing? You're actually have to go to the Hebrew school of thought and understand what Sham means. So what he's saying is my reputation, excuse me, his reputation, his character, or if we say the name of Yah, in the name of Yahweh, we're saying in the name of his what? Reputation, right? But anyway, not just the literal name, but the power, the bearer of the name. So the original name of this book is the names of the children of Israel. That's the original name of here. The names of the children of Israel. All right. So what is the meaning of the word Exodus? Let's go to the etymology dictionary definition of this word. You see, it says here, Exodus, it says a military expedition, a solemn procession, departure, death, literally a going out from the X, right? Because we see X, Hodas, X means out, Hodas, a way, path, road, a ride, journey, march. We see here way out, goes on to say departure from a place, especially the migration of large bodies of people or animals from one country or region to another. Course, right? Course, progress. And then we see here to tread on, go on, to go away, become weak. So let's bring this all together. So let's go to the Ernest Klein, because this is a key word. This is what you're going to actually see in the scriptures when you go to Exodus chapter 12, and we'll get there in a second. This Hebrew word is sa'ah, right? And it transliterates to journey. Okay? Let me prove this here. As you see here, sa'ah, it says he went quickly, ran. All right? When we go to Exodus chapter 12, verse 37, let's see the usage of this word. And the children of Israel journeyed, sa'ah, from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men besides children. So the children of Israel journeyed. We see that word journeyed. Again, the Hebrew word is sa'ah. The ancient Hebrew pronunciation of that word is sa'ah. So again, are there any proof of what's called the second Exodus, that many could use the word Exodus rather, not second Exodus, proof that it actually happened? Now, of course, that's a whole nother discussion, getting into the second Exodus. We'll do a discussion on that. I know every time I do a discussion on that, you would think that I murdered somebody when I give you proper clarity on the second Exodus. Am I right, Sister Carol? Am I right, Maria Scholar? Whenever I do that, you would think that I talked about somebody, mama.
You stir up the hornet's nest.
You know, but we're not going to do that tonight, right? Want to make sure, like my grandmother would say, my sugar done went up. You know what I mean? Don't want your guys' sugar to go up. All right. But words have meaning, family, and we're not going to do it tonight. We'll deal with this another time. All right. But are there any proof of what's called the second? I don't know why I keep saying second Exodus, right? Now it's on me, right? What's called the Exodus actually happened. Is there any proof of this? Well, before we get into that, let's start with the 78th book of Psalms, starting at verse 15. I really want to highlight this here, right? Look at this here. He clave the rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink as out of the great depths. He brought streams out of the rock and caused water to run down like rivers. Then we go to Exodus 17, verse 6 and 7, excuse me. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock of Horeb, Karab, and thou shalt smite the rock Sawar, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. Shathah. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. So make a note of that. Upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock. And it says, and there shall come water out of it. All right. Verse 7. All right. We see here, and he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, which is Marayabah, because of the chiding Rayab of the children of Israel, and because they tempted Nasah or Nasath, Yahweh was saying, is Yahweh among us or not? So you guys know the story about this here. But look at what happens here. Let me give you some proof here. Let me go to this next slide here. Are there any proof that this really happened? Are there any proof that their exodus really happened or their departure really happened? Well, let's play this video here. All right, let's play this video. Can you guys hear the audio?
Yes.
Want to say fair use. Want to say fair use for educational purposes. All right, so let's go to the next. Let's go to the next one. Right, just giving you some evidence here. You know, it's a lot that we can present here, but just want to give you something to go off of tonight. Exodus chapter 32, verse 2 through 4. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people break off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron, excuse me. And he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool. And after he had made it a molten calf, and they said, these be thy Elohim, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Well, are there any proof of this? And again, fair use. And this is a protected area too. You guys can see the fence around it. And it's going to give you some close-ups. Look at the writings on the wall, the pictographs. And that's an aerial view right here of it. All right. So I want to say this to you guys, and I say this from time to time, but you guys need to understand this. There is something special about you, Judah. There is something special about you, Israel, or Yashara'al. When I say Judah, Yahwadah, that is the ancient pronunciation of the word. There is something special about you, Judah. Yahweh only spoke to you, to us as a nation, and he spoke to no other nation. Let's prove this. Amos chapter 3, starting at verse 1. Hear this word that Yahweh hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families, Mashpakah or Mashapakath Wath of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. In other words, bending, twisting the law, statutes, and commandments. Can two walk yalak together, yakad, except they be agreed? Adah. So, family, this is proof that the Most High did not speak to any other nation. That's why we are supposed to be what? That light. We're Yah's chosen people that's separated. We're supposed to be the nation that's teaching the nations, not the nations teaching us. We're supposed to be teaching the nations, the light unto all the nations, not reverse. And that's where part of the problem is. We've gotten comfortable, part of it because of the years of, or the centuries upon centuries of suppression. We began to take on that behavior as if our oppressors are the ones that are supposed to be the light unto us versus the reverse. How can your oppressors teach you what love is? How can your oppressors teach you what repentance is? How can they even teach you about the Messiah? They already proved their track record. They want to give you a Messiah that looks like them. We see that right now. Can't get rid of that. If we had to quote Good Times, white Jesus. We can't get rid of that. So again, the scriptures makes it clear. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Now look at here. Here's another passage. Again, there's something special about you, Judah. Yahweh only spoke to you as a nation and no other. The 147th book of Psalms, starting at verse 19. Right? Look at what it says here. He sheweth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. Right? I just gave you two witnesses, right? Gave you two witnesses. So again, there's something special about you, Judah. No other nation can worship like us. They know this. Let's prove it here. Now, you guys know that I'm not an advocate of the word gospel because I know the origins of the word. We taught that here with the cult of Baal. But let's just look at this entry that's in the Oxford Dictionary about gospel. Let's see what it says about gospel. It says here, the teaching or revelation of Christ. But look at this special entry here. Entry number 3, a fervent style of Black American evangelical religious singing developed from spiritual song in Southern Baptist and Pentecostal churches. They know that, and I'm not trying to sound like Eddie Kane here. You know, how does it feel to be me? Well, you ain't gonna get it because you ain't got it. You know, you just want to sound like me, you know. Eddie Kane.
Come on.
They know that there's something special about us, from our hair texture to our skin to our lips. They want all these attributes, but they don't want our experience. Our experiences. They want to have the full lips. They want to have our chocolate skin. They want to have our woolly hair. They want to have even the how our bodies are built. They want to have all of those things, but they don't want our experience. They don't want to walk the walk. They just want to look like they did. So they know that there's something special about us, family. Any comments, guys?
Yes, we walk around with a white supremacist mind. We have been indoctrinated with white supremacy and we carry it on. Men and women alike, not just women. Men and women alike. We are white supremacists in our minds. We walk with that. And we teach our children that. And generation to generation. We have not released and repented that out of our minds. It's still there. We still do it. We want to go live in their neighborhoods because we deem their neighborhoods safe versus the community that you grew up in. We want to go shop in their stores because we deem it right, better than the stores you have in your neighborhood, in your community. When we go work for them, we even switch how we act and talk to blend in with them, assimilate with them. But if you get what you own, you go back, you switch back to where you were.
Oh, some of them don't even switch back.
Some of them switch back, some keep going. Right. They wear their clothes. We got to have labels. All about the labels, all about the cars that they created. Still doing it. We haven't stopped. It's a white supremacist mind. You talking about white supremacists? Well, you are the white supremacists. When you look in the mirror, you are a white supremacist because you carry on white supremacist ideology. No, we have not stopped it. And we do it because it's innately built inside of us. And you're teaching your children to do the same.
And you know, Sister Carol, truth be told, that is actually part of the consequences of going against the law, statutes, and commandments as noted in Deuteronomy 28. You know, when it says roping at the noonday,
that's right.
That's madness.
Exactly.
You made it clear that that's what we're going to, we are going to have that mindset of wanting to be like the oppressors. We're going to do the very things he told us not to envy the ways of the oppressors. And guess what we're doing? And it's because if you're not teaching
having those dogs,
exactly. If you're not teaching the law, statutes, and commandments, then you're embracing someone else's commandments.
Correct. And I laugh at everyone embracing Lamar Kendrick's song, "They Not Like Us." No, because you're like them. You're like them.
And the thing about it, like with Kendrick Lamar, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time in that.
No.
But when you listen to his lyrics, because most people, they listen to the hook.
Right.
But they don't listen to what he actually says.
Correct.
Because he talks about DNA even in that song.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about we being the people of the book in all his songs, really.
Yeah, you see that?
But because people see the hook, and they just want to get excited, they're not like us. They have no clue that he's referring to Hebrew Israelites.
Correct.
Exactly. They thinking that he's dealing with the black construct.
That part.
That ties into the institution of race.
That's right.
And I'm just saying that to tie into the point that you made.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we keep thinking that he's talking about black people, so to speak, then you're pushing racial white supremacy because they created these terms.
That's right.
So I got you, sis. I got you. I'm Berean Scholar.
As long as we stay, like you said, one of the people made a comment in the post about the Uganda saying they're going to support Israel. And I replied back that, you know, not only Black Americans are brainwashed by the colonizers, Black all the worlds are affected by the colonizer. I remember a video you shared one time where you showed some African priest kissing a white Jesus. I mean, we're all affected by this mind numbness stuff they put on us. That's why I'm glad we need to say it again. There's something special about you, Judah. Know who you are. You are created in Yah's image.
And you know, we see a crafty counsel against us.
Mm-hmm.
We see Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, and many within Islam. We also see it in the conscious community.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They go hard against us, and they all are in a covenant.
Right.
They teaming up to come against our community. Never in a million years would I ever thought to see on a Christian platform they have someone that made it clear that they're an atheist. but all for the sake of coming against who?
Us.
Us.
The people of the Most High, made in
Oh,
His image.
Actually, they're going against themselves because they're Israelites.
Well, we get that technicality, but they don't care about that. You know what I mean?
But that's my point about the whole thing, is that that white supremacy rejects you even knowing who you are and accepting who you are. When you tell them that's who you are, that this book is about you, they reject it because they want to continue that mentality that the white supremacist is above it all, and we condemn you, whatever you say about an Israelite. We're not that.
Well, and guess what? Now they're operating in the spirit of Esau.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the spirit of Esau. So you can have Israelites that could be bloodline Israelites, right? But operating in the spirit of Esau.
Correct.
And that's why I'm glad.
Point.
And that's why I'm glad you're doing this lesson, Pastor, because we got to rightly divert the word of truth. Just simply a fact that the name of this book has been changed just to hide and deceive from the names of the sons of Israel to Exodus. So that, just not to get off, stay on track. That's a part of the deception. So,
and I'm going to say this real quick, and to Kodeshim.
Yes.
There is an issue at hand because in the black and brown neighborhoods, the food in the grocery stores are not as fresh and ripe as the ones in the majority Caucasian food. You know what? We allowed it to happen.
Exactly. I was getting ready to say that.
I'm just going to say it to you. We allowed it to happen.
We did that. Not them. We did that because we
it was us that undermined the Black Panthers because a lot of the programs that the government took, the social programs, they took it from the Black Panthers, from the libraries that had our books in it, to establishing breakfast programs, reading programs. And even when we start talking about these foods, they do it because we allow them to do it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We can go out here and purchase our own land and set up our own farmers markets. When I go to the farmers markets out here, guess what I mainly see? I see them.
I'll go further than that. I watch it happen at hand. I grew up with Black-owned grocery stores.
Oh yeah, I was gonna go there.
Throughout the whole, not only Black grocery store, Black doctors, hospital.
No, I didn't see the hospitals.
All kind of stores up and down the street. Was
I know
all
you remember you was born when Central Park was a plant.
Well, I'm just letting it be real.
No, just messing with you, Sister Carol.
We did this. I live in a Black suburban neighborhood, the first of its kind here in Houston. And we abandoned it and went and moved into their neighborhood when immigration came because we thought that was better to integrate with them. But by you doing that, you abandon your base. And guess what's happening? Now they're coming to your base.
Right.
And let me just share one quick thing and we'll get back on track here. I remember being a kid and I heard grown folks say and complain about the corner stores because they were not called bodegas because the bodegas came along with the Spanish community, the title, right? But the corner stores, to Sister Carol's point, it was us. But you know what they were struggling with when the Spanish stores start coming in is distribution. Right? So you'll go in and they'll complain about, hey, Box, his store is so high. I mean, his product is so high. Why is it? He's just trying to hustle the people. But I just happened to ask Box a question. Hey, Box, why your milk so high? And he said, he really broke it down to me. He said, he said, now the distributions that are, the distributors are Spanish. And the reason and what they're doing that's undermining him, they're giving their own people that have stores a super discount that could be at least $1 cheaper than what he buys.
Exactly.
But he still have to charge, even if he charge a minimum of 10 cents, he's still shooting himself in the foot more than what he purchased, while the others, they getting and gaining more profit. So that's why his prices are going to be higher. And that was their way of forcing him out as well. Because instead of our people trying to rally together, they all rallied at the other place.
Exactly.
That's the same thing happening. That's the same thing happened down in Florida with the Cubano community. They are running black businesses out, doing the same thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the stuff in the 90s and 2000s is trash. I'm going to tell you that now. I grew up in the 60s and 70s where stuff was still pure, had real food. They didn't start putting additives in food to the 70s, late 70s. And then the 80s and 90s, we were just eating junk. And 2000 is just, you might as well just go stick your tongue in the sewage. You need it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You hit it right on the nail, sis. So what are we going to do, family? Got to do something. But anyway, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yes, exactly. Exodus, Judah. That's right.
There is something special about you, Judah. Again, I want to reiterate that. There is something special about you, Judah. All right? There is something special about you, Israel, Yashra'al. Yahweh gave Israel a key promise prior to giving the plagues or sending the plagues. Let's highlight this real quick because we really don't understand the plagues. Why? Because the way that we've been taught. We're just used to the 10 Commandments, that comes on around Easter, and then you'll see the different movies about Christ come on. We really don't have a clue about the plagues. But we want to make sure you understand what the purpose of the plagues. Let's prove it here. Exodus chapter 8, verse 22 and 23. And I will sever Palayah in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end thou mayest know that I am Yahweh in the midst of the earth. And I will put a division, Padah or Padath, between my people and thy people. And tomorrow shall this sign be. All right. That's the incorrect word, but it says tomorrow this sign shall be. It should be Awath-tha or Awath or Ath, the primitive root. But anyway, and I will sever. Let's see the definition of this here. To distinguish, to put a difference, show marvelous, separate, set apart, to be distinct, be distinguished. And Sister Carol alluded to this earlier when she stated how we're trying to be like everyone else. How can we be set apart if we're still trying to strive to be like the very people that have oppressed us and continue to oppress us, as Sister Carol laid out? But look at this. Matthew chapter 13, verse 30 is going to give us clarity here. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together the first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Separation, right? The wheat from the tares. And this is going to confirm what the plagues are, right? Separating the wheat from the tares, separating Yahweh's people from the oppressors. The plagues are signs. Let me prove this here. The plagues are proof. They are evidence of the true Israelites as well. We're going to prove it here. The Hebrew word sign, as I pointed out, you see here, awath or ath or atha. Now this in the Israeli is pronounced oath. That's a whole nother discussion. But it says a signal, evidence, mark, miracle, proof. All right, let me say it again. A signal, all right, evidence, mark, miracle, proof. And let's confirm this with Revelation chapter 15, verse 1, that the plagues are a sign. They are signs. Look at this here. It says, and I saw another sign. We see it right there. I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of Yahweh. So again, the plagues, they are what? They are signs. And they're going to serve a certain purpose, a certain point. And I'm going to show you that here. All right. And when we look at plagues, it says here, pestilent. We saw a major plague or pestilent about 6 years ago. That is COVID. Regardless of how it was manufactured to be stirred up during the winter of 2019, it really took root in 2020, right? Hold on one second. Let me plug my thing up here. Where's my... can you guys hear me? For some reason, my
we can hear you.
Thing is not charging. All right, guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we hear you.
All right, yeah, I'm about to lose power in my charger. Is it still charging? Let me make sure it's still charging. It should be charging, and it's not showing that it's charging. My apologies. All of a sudden, it's not showing that it's charging. All right. Hey guys, let me step away for a second. Let me get my charger to make sure. Oh, it looks like it's charging now. I was going to get my other charger because I didn't want to lose power here. For some reason, it just wasn't charging, and I had to unhook everything. All right. So my apologies. Blame Berean Scholar. All right. So again, we see plague, we see pestilent, and we were dealing with COVID. Right. And we saw how it swept the entire world. And regardless of how it was manufactured, we already know that plague, that influenza, that been around. I believe that if I remember correctly, when I did my research on it, it was around since the 60s, the 50s to 60s. Right. And, and you can actually purchase a strand of it. Remember that, Sister Carol? I took it. We went to some sites that you can actually purchase it, strands of the COVID and other. You can actually purchase it. Of course, you'll say for educational purposes, but you can purchase it and spread this plague.
Yeah, because we've lived with coronavirus for years. Yeah,
it's always been on the back of your Lysol cans and all the other Mr. Clean and all that other stuff. It's been on the back of the product saying that it prevents or it kills. You'll see COVID on there.
And coronavirus is nothing more but a common cold.
That's all it is.
That's the baseline of what the virus is. It's a common cold.
That's all it is. Notice you don't see COVID testing now, family. Notice how that died down.
You don't even hear companies pushing it for you have to have vaccination in order to come work for me.
Yeah. Oh, that died down about 3 years ago.
I still see posted some still because they wrote the language into their policy, but it's not being pushed and forced like it was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you see, family, that's tying in with the scriptures, pestilence, right? And that's also when you start understanding the plagues, it's to bring what? Separation. There were some of us that separated ourselves and said, hey, we are not taking it.
Exactly.
And I provided letters. And stood 10 toes down, didn't take it. But anyway, you're going to say something, Berean Scholar?
No. I'm just not me because you're right. That's one of the places we all had to go through.
Right.
So here's the kicker, family. The Israelites were not told to leave Egypt prior to the plagues. Let me say that again, because we need to let that resonate, right? Because when we start thinking about judgments that are coming, many will have you think that you have to flee before the judgments. Guess what? No matter where you go to, you still have to deal with the judgments.
Yes.
The Israelites were not told to leave Egypt prior to the plagues. Yahweh reassured the Israelites that this judgment would be used as a separator. Pharaoh prevented Israel from keeping a key sign. Let me show you a key sign, because remember, we've been teaching it a number of times, especially last week. I taught it again, that the Shabbats, the feast days, are what? Signs. Everything you see happening with the 1948ers, they always do it around feast days. Everything that they instigate tends to be wrapped around and connected to feast days. So Pharaoh prevented Israel from keeping a key sign. Let's go to Exodus chapter 5, verse 1, and we're going to highlight 1 through 3. And after Moses and Aaron, Aharon, went in and told Pharaoh, thus said Yahweh Elohim of Israel, let my people go. But he didn't just tell them to let my people go. Look at what it goes on to say, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. Now, my grandmother used to sing this song, Go Down Moses. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. And they'll put that boat, chibbo. You know, they put all that to that. You know, but even when you see this on the movie, The 10 Commandments, did you ever see or hear them say, let my people go that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness?
No, Charleston Heston never said that.
You've never heard that. You don't even hear it in most spaces, right?
Right.
I would say 99% of the spaces, even in this awakening.
99.9.
Never. Now, you will hear this. You will hear the camps and some of these other our people will say the only way they can do the feast, they got to be in the wilderness.
I know what you're going to go to. We're going to knock all of that down. Because look at here. They are in captivity to the Egyptians. And the declaration, the charge, the command was, let my people go that we may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. Right? Look at what it says. And Pharaoh said, who is Yahweh? He's like, who is Yahweh? Who is he that exists? That I should obey his voice and let Israel go. I know not the Yahweh, because they had a Yamanu, right? Or Yamana, because you had Yah plus Mana, which also means what is this? Right? But nevertheless, I know not the Yahweh, or I know not Yahweh, neither will I let Israel go. Verse 3, and they said, the Elohim of the Hebrews hath met with us. Let us go, we pray thee, 3 days' journey into the desert and sacrifice unto Yahweh our Elohim, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. So they say, hey, let us at least go out into the wilderness, or go out into the desert and honor feast day. They were not saying they're going to go out and not return. They were going out to honor feast days, and they were going to what? Come back to Egypt. We weren't taught that portion of it, right?
Never.
That's right.
But look at what it says here. Well, actually, I didn't put the rest of the text in, but that is key here. They want to go out and honor feast days. Now, I did a full lesson on this. I'm not sure if you remember, Sister Carol, when I showed how that this key point of the oaths from
Yeah.
Abraham to Isaac
Isaac.
and to Jacob, all at the same place of oaths,
Mhm.
right? Dealing with the wells and all of
Yes.
that.
Yes, I remember.
That was all based around the feast day.
Mhm.
Now, peep this out, family. What was the feast day? What was the feast day? Because we know it's not the Passover.
Mhm.
Why? Because the Passover didn't occur yet.
Right.
What feast day requires for them to go out into the desert, out into the wilderness?
Ooh, I know.
Let's see if the chat put it in. I know you know, Sister Carol, but let's see if the guys, what feast day? And then Sister Carol going to give confirmation. What feast day requires of the Israelites going out into the deserts, going out into the wilderness? Type it in the chat.
I was thinking the same thing, sis. You need to play music.
All right, let's see here. All right, we see some answers coming here. We see Fox Legend says Feast of Tabernacles, Daily Repentance, Tabernacles, Yah's Path, Boots, still the same, Tabernacles, Sing Yah, Tabernacle. We see our elder out in the out in California, holding it down in California. Matter of fact, we'll be traveling out there in a few months. Sukkot or Sakath, right? Which still is the same here. We see Sukkot here. We see Septuagint, say clueless. Well, we're gonna give you the answer. Sister Carol going to confirm. I was thinking the same theme song. Okay, someone was having the Jeopardy thing going on here. All right. Then we see Emphia said Tabernacles. We see Sardines, excuse me if I mispronounced the name. Tabernacle. Let's see here. Boots by Scott Watson. We'll get a couple more in if we see it here. Let's see here.
It's Sandy Nerys.
Oh, Sandy. I'm, when you're reading from here, you just
From the Bay Area.
Yeah. I'm reading letter by letter. I didn't even see it. Sandy. Okay, I got you. All right.
From the Bay Area.
Sandina. Okay, she pointed it out. Sandina. Really appreciate it. Sandina. Really appreciate it, Sandina. Actually, our daughter is out there in the Bay Area. Yeah, she just started working out there. Really appreciate it. Let's see here. Tanya Horton, Sukkot, Septuagint. Let's see here. I will learn something. That's right. It's that. Hey, we learn something new every day. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Hallelujah. All right, Sister Carol, would you enlighten them? Give clarity on what feast day?
Well, drum roll.
200 for Feast of Tabernacle. What's his name? I forgot his name. Oh my God.
Alex.
Alex. There you go. Alex.
All right. So we had it's the Feast of Tabernacles, family. Right? And it's the Feast of Tabernacles. So when we go to Exodus, and I'm going to give you another source here. Exodus chapter 5, verse 4 and 5. Look at how Pharaoh responds as well. But look at what it says here. And the king of Egypt said unto them, wherefore do ye Moses and Aaron let the people from their works get you unto your burdens? Right? And look at here. This is key right here. And Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land now are many, and ye make them rest. In other words, and ye make them Shabbat from their burdens. So he didn't want them to honor what? Shabbat.
Right.
He wanted them to continue to work. The feast day is Shabbat. All right. So Yahweh instructed Moses and Aaron to go to the Pharaoh and asked him to allow the Israelites to go into the wilderness to honor him by way of the feast. And again, what feast? Now, just so happened, I was a while ago, I read the Book of Jubilees, and I saw something that was interesting. I don't subscribe to the pseudo apocryphal books because, of course, this book has so many contradictions. But from a historical point, I saw something that was pretty interesting that confirmed what I was already teaching. And look what it says here. And we went our way, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him, and they both rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And he built there an altar to Yahweh, and had delivered him, and who was making him rejoice in the land of his sojourning. And he celebrated a festival of joy in this month, 7 days near the altar which he had built at the well of the oath. Right, the well. Ba'ar Shaba'ath, right? And he built booths, Sakath, for himself and for his servants on this festival. And he was the first to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Tabernacle Sakath Wath, or Sakat Wath, excuse me. And we see here, this should be Chag, but this is backwards here. All right. So we see, and I'm just sharing all of that to you guys to show you that the feast days. Now, why is this important? They were honoring feast days before Jerusalem even existed for them. They were honoring feast days before they had the promised land. They were still in the land of their captivity, honoring feast days. Now, even when they, after they left or departed Egypt, it was still another 38 years that they occupied, they lived in the desert.
Come on.
And for 38 years, they honored in the desert the feast days. They kept Shabbat in the feast days. So that knocks down anyone that tries to tell you that you cannot honor feast days because you're not in, we're not in our territory. Do you know even when Christ walked the earth, Israel was in captivity to the Romans. So it doesn't matter whether we're in the land of captivity or not. We can still honor feast days if you have a mind to build, if you have a mind to work, if you have a mind to do. If not, you'll look for any kind of excuse not to do it. All right? So Pharaoh made every effort to keep Israel from honoring the Feast of Tabernacle. And remember, all the feast days are Shabbats, all of them. And you can confirm this with Leviticus chapter 23. And also, as you see here, Exodus 31, verse 13 through 17. I'm not going to read all of this. I didn't even update the slide. But as you can see here, it says, verily my Shabbats. And in ancient Hebrew, you'll see Shabbat Wath, plural. So this is not just dealing with the seventh day Shabbat. This is also dealing with his feast days. And it says here, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh that doeth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Shabbat. In other words, execute Shamar. Therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth this shall surely be put to death. So you see the point of emphasis being placed on the Shabbat. 6 days may work, be done, but in the seventh is Shabbat rest. Holy to Yahweh. So we still get this reinforcement. And it makes it clear, it says, for a perpetual covenant, wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbat to observe the Shabbat throughout their generations, which is synonymous to forever. And you'll still see the same Hebrew word, awalam, for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. Okay? And look at here where it says, written with the finger of who? Allahayim. The original copy, the Most High wrote these words, his own words himself. After Moses broke them, he destroyed them. Out of his anger, he had to write them.
And that Moses.
All right. And they're not Moses, as Sister Carol just pointed out. So let me share this little clip here. I can't share too much of it for the sake of copyrights and all of that. This is a documentary titled Pattern of Evidence.
Wait a minute, Pastor.
What's that?
Your last statement after Moses broke the tablets.
Oh yeah, they're not Moses' laws.
Right.
Oh,
They belong to the Most High.
that's right.
The Most High is the
Yah wrote
authority.
the first one, Moses wrote the second one.
Exactly. Moses wrote a copy of it.
Of it.
Of his and they
Of
and
the
we've been
original.
and the priest's been required to do that ever since, every day.
Exactly. Starting with the king. You can't be a king of Israel if you don't write the commandments down.
That's right.
You had to write your own book. You didn't have to, today they get copies of somebody else's Bible and all that other stuff. During that time, I believe it's Deuteronomy 17, the king had to what? Write his own copy.
Yep.
So he cannot say that he didn't know. So this here, it comes from a documentary called The Pattern of Evidence, The Exodus. This guy right here is an Egyptologist. I didn't put the whole thing here, but in a nutshell, he confirmed some writings, but he still, regardless of the signs, proof, and evidence, he's pushing the narrative that the Exodus or the departure, this whole ordeal did not happen. But still acknowledge a key piece of information I'm going to share with you. He acknowledged that, right? But many of those guys try to chalk these writings I'm going to cover as being it's a story. It's not really it's not giving historical information. It's just as a story. It's basically a fable. Listen to what he says. Fair use.
But Egyptologist Martin Raven sees no evidence for the Exodus in this document or anywhere else.
The story of the Exodus is described in the Old Testament. It's part of the national history of the Jewish people, or so they say. We have no independent evidence that this is a real historical event. We can believe it because we believe in the Bible. Mm-hmm. There are no Egyptian sources that describe it. There are no other documents, there are no archaeological sources that could prove this took place as a mass exodus.
Fair use.
Raven's position, again, is that of most Egyptologists today. But there are some scholars who suggest that descriptions found in this Egyptian document bear a remarkable resemblance to the plagues of the Bible, only from an Egyptian point of view. Written by a scribe named Ipuwer, the papyrus known as the Admonitions of an Egyptian Sage poetically describes a series of calamities and the chaos that followed.
All right. So he understands and he acknowledged that this source existed, that Egyptologist, but he still want to say it didn't exist. There's no proof. That there's no proof, and there's plenty of proof, family, plenty of proof. But anyway, let's start here. Are there any proof of the plagues? Let's start here. The story of the Nile turning into blood. Let's start with scripture. And I want to make sure you guys understand. I'm going to show that Egyptian source that he made reference to, but keep in mind, don't expect it to read like how it reads in our holy text, because it's from the angle of the Egyptians. So we all could witness the same thing, but you're going to put what you witness into your own words and vice versa. We're not all going to try to sound alike, even though you'll see the continuity in our words, in our testaments, or testimony rather. So Exodus chapter 4, verse 9. And it shall come to pass that it says, if they will not believe also these two signs, neither hearken unto my voice, that thou shalt make the water of the river and pour it upon the dry land, and the water which thou takest out of the river shall become blood upon the dry land. Now peep this out, family. The admonitions of an Egyptian sage from a hieratic papyrus and Leiden or Leiden. Look at what it says here. Blood is everywhere. Death is not lacking. The river is blood, men drinking of it and shrinking from the taste of, in other words, the water being blood. People, in other words, men thirst after water. Are they saying the same thing? Or they make reference to the same thing? What do you guys think? Blood is everywhere. Death is not lacking. The river is what? Blood. Does that sound like a plague there?
Yep.
And this is an Egyptian text here, written by an Egyptian. Destruction of the crops, the death of livestock. Exodus chapter 9, verse 5 and 6. And we'll highlight a couple of passages here. Yahweh appointed a set time, saying, tomorrow Yahweh shall do this thing in the land. And Yahweh did that thing. I like that passage, right? And Yahweh did that thing. You know what I mean? He said he was going to do that thing. And guess what? And Yahweh did that thing. On the morrow, and all the cattle of Egypt died, but of the cattle of the children of Israel died not one. Then we also skip down to verse 30 and 31 to another part of the plagues. But as for thee and thy servants, I know that ye will not yet fear Yahweh Elohim. And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear and the flax was boiled. Then we go to chapter 10, verse 14 and 15. And the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt and rested in all the coast of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts, as they neither after them shall be such. Verse 15, for they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened, and they did eat every herb of the land and all the fruit of the trees which had the hail, which the hail had left, and there remained not every green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt. So let's go back to the source, the admonitions of the Egyptian sage, page 9. And look at, it's going to confirm what we just covered here. Look at what it says. Nor is this limited area immune from the disaster that have befallen Lower Egypt. The ships of the, in other words, Southerners, have gone adrift. The towns are destroyed. Upper Egypt has become dry waste. Look at here. Men sit over the bushes until the benighted, in other words, traveler comes in order to plunder his load. Desperation, right? But we see here again, nor is the limited area immune from the disaster what have befallen Lower Egypt. The ship of the Southerners have gone adrift. The towns are destroyed. Upper Egypt has become dry waste. So Egypt is being described as being in a state of ruin. And when we go to page 46, look at what it says about Egypt. We touched about the grain, talked about the grain within the Exodus account. I mean, the account in the book of Exodus, or should we say the book of names? And look at what it says here. Grain has perished on every side. People are stripped of clothes, spices, and oil. Everybody says there is none. The storehouse is ruined. Is this confirming the scriptures or what, family? Is this describing the scriptures, but from the Egyptian perspective? So Pharaoh's servant were becoming impatient with Pharaoh's blindness to the destruction of Egypt. Look at here, Exodus chapter 10, verse 7. And the Pharaoh's servant said unto him, how long shall this man be a snare unto us? Now they're getting impatient with Pharaoh because he's been stubborn. He's acting like the commander, the commander and thief, right? They're impatient with him. He's hard-headed. Let the men go that they may serve Yahweh their Elohim. Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? He's saying you so focused on not allowing them to go honor feast day, but you don't even realize the country is already destroyed. You're trying to protect something that's already destroyed. Look at here, page 34, going back to the source. The products of craftsmen, the palace. To what purpose is a treasure house without its revenues? Glad indeed is the heart of the king. Wait a minute. Doesn't it sound similar? Like they calling the king out? The products of craftsmen, the palace. To what purpose is a treasure house without its revenue? They said, hey, you know what? What good is trying to protect a treasure house and nothing is there? There's no value there. Glad indeed is the heart of the king. When the truth comes to him, lo, every foreign country comes. That is our water. That is our happiness. What shall we do in respect thereof? All is ruin. Death of the firstborn. Look at Exodus chapter 12, verse 29 and 30. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahweh smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on the throne unto the firstborn of the captive, and that was in the dungeon. That was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. So there was a great cry in Egypt, family. Now let's prove this. Let's go to page 35 of this source. Forsooth, mirth has perished and is no longer made. It is growing that is it is groaning that is throughout the land, mingled with lamentation. So is it not saying that there's a weeping? Because groaning, that's weeping. Lamentation, affliction. So it's saying it is groaning that is throughout the land, mingled with lamentations. So they're growing, they're crying out, even in the midst of what? Their affliction. Let's look at here, page 36. Forsooth, the children of princes are dashed against the walls. Wait a minute. They're saying they have having death among what? Their children. Now, of course, they're not saying the firstborn, but it's still telling the same story from a different angle. Forsooth, the children of princes are dashed against the walls. The offspring of desire are laid out on the high ground. I think that says kum. I can't see that because I can't tell what that letter is. I think it's kanum. Groans because of his weariness. So there's a mourning. There's children. That's what it says is the children of princes are dashed against the walls. Come on, family. Now, this is a piece of history that you don't hear about. This is one of many burials during the 13th dynasty that was referred to as the Asiatic plagues. Was it Asiatic plagues? Or I think it was the Asiatic plagues. Yeah, the Asiatic plagues. I believe that's what it was called. They had a number of these burial sites where it was mass graves because they had it was a pestilence. There was a disease going around. You could say it was like their COVID of their time. And we already know the Egyptians take pride in how they bury their dead because that's instrumental, that's vital in how they enter into the afterlife according to them. So they'll have a eulogy. They'll have a book of the dead, which there's thousands of the variations of the Book of the Dead. It's basically a eulogy of an individual that transitioned. So we see here Avaris, Egypt, the 13th dynasty plague pits. All right, and this is courtesy of Australian Archaeological Institute. So Professor Hans Godick of Johns Hopkins University notes that just such a plague is mentioned in the papyrus documents of the era following the 13th dynasty, and the text refer to it as the Asiatic disease. All right. So the slaves began to plunder Egypt's wealth. The slaves began to plunder Egypt's wealth. Well, Exodus chapter 12, verse 35 and 36, the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed. No, they didn't borrow, fam. Not what we think. We think like they took out loans as they got ready to leave the land of captivity. That's not what it means here. Sha'al, we'll give clarity here, of the Egyptian jewels of silver, jewels of gold, and raiment. And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. So they lent Sha'al Wath unto them things as they required, and they spoiled Natsal the Egyptians. All right. Did the Israelites take out a loan? Did they take out a PPP? Were they at the check cashing, chicken finger licking haircut spot?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
No, family. Did the Egyptians extend a line of credit to the Israelites? No, family. Let's go to the word borrow here. It says here, to inquire, request, demand. In other words, they were told to go to the Egyptians and demand that they pay them for centuries of what? Oppression. Demand what's rightfully theirs. Reparations, right? So Israel was instructed to demand. As instructed, the Israelites requested reparations from the Egyptians. Let's confirm this on page 48 of the source. It says, the destruction of such lists would naturally result in slaves. Wait a minute. I thought there was no slaves in Egypt. You know how the Kemet guys would tell you that there was no, that's slavery. That's the Bible. The Bible teaches slavery. They don't tell you that slavery existed in Egypt or Kemet. And even in the source, it says the destruction of such lists would naturally result in slaves. Y'all see that? Right here, slaves. Let me zoom it in. Some of you guys I see want to take a screenshot. Let's zoom it in. Results in slaves claiming, that should be an M, but claiming independence to which they were not entitled. Isn't that a demand? But it didn't stop there. Look at here. Let's go to page 31. Forsooth, gold and lapis, lazuli, silver, and malachite, carnelian, and bronze, stone of Yebet, and are fastened on the necks of female slaves. Good things are in the land, yet the mistresses of houses say, would that we had something to eat. So what's happening here? They're giving away their prized possessions. To who? The female slaves. They're giving them their jewelry. They're giving them their gold. They're giving them their silver. They're giving them their platinum. They're giving them their American Express card. They're giving them the Mercedes. They're even giving them the Chevy. They're giving them everything. Doesn't this sound similar to what we just read out of the book of Exodus?
Yes, it does. Take this stuff and go.
Any comments, guys? I'll open up to you guys.
That canoe.
Uh-huh.
You knew what that was, right?
Go ahead, break it down, man.
That was one of the Egyptian gods. The plague made one of the Egyptian god cry. In fact, we know that the plagues was an attack on each one of the gods, the Egyptian gods. So they were saying that God was brought to tears because what y'all had done.
Come on, family. They're bearing witness to the text. Sister Carol, any comments?
I was going to say, just like they never read the Bible, they obviously didn't read their own book either, since they want to be commit. They would have known this happened.
You hit it on the nail. They have the same problem over in their community that the church have. Most people don't read.
Right. Or read the fine print. Hilarious.
So, family, we're proving the text is real with Egyptian sources. Look at this on page 61.
Yes.
Behold, the poor of the land have become rich, and the possessor of property has become one who has nothing. Let me read that again. Behold, the poor of the land have become rich, and the possessor of property has become one who has nothing. The slaves became what? Rich. And the rich became what? Poor.
Oh.
Does that sound like a fairy tale? You know, that's what these Egyptologists try to downplay. Oh, they're just telling a story. They just, that don't sound like a made-up story.
Sound like the wealth of the wicked laid up for the righteous.
So let's transition to another confirmation of the Egyptians, right? You guys already know this, but I want to reiterate this to those that may be watching the channel for the first time. Exodus chapter 1, verse 7. The children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. In other words, we were everywhere. Yeah, I mean, little Jersey. So it says here again, increased abundantly, sharat, and multiplied, rabbah, and waxed exceeding, ma'ad, mighty. Okay, who are these slaves? Deuteronomy 28, 58 and 60 through 60 says this: if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that is written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name of Yahweh thy Elohim, then Yahweh will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed even great plagues, and of long continuance and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of the Egyptians, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. So who are these slaves, family? Who are these slaves? Who are these slaves? Well, were they Khazarians? Were they the name stealers? Those slaves are Negroes, family.
Ding, 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 ding.
Cranium Aegyptica, Samuel Morton, he was a racist too. But he proved something. One thing that they never contested about his findings was his assessment of Negroes being all across Egypt as servants and slaves. That's the one thing they still haven't debunked. And they won't be able to debunk it. This is what he says on page 60 of that source. If it will be allowable to make these data the basis of calculation for the past 35 centuries, it will follow that upwards of 10 millions of Negroes have been bought as bondsmen into Egypt during that period. And so he was also trying to explain why the Egyptians look like the Negroes by saying that, hey, you know, there was they start looking like us by mixing, because they were trying to say the Egyptians were descendants of Caucasians. The vast influx of Negroes into the Valley of the Nile must necessarily have left its impression on the physical traits of the Egyptians themselves. In modern times, seen in the Copts and in more distant periods, as proved by the Negroid heads, in which both the configuration and expression are too obvious to be mistaken. But it may be inquired, how does it happen that Negroes or their descendants should be found in the catacombs if they constituted a menial or slave caste in Egypt? So what he's saying is, how am I saying, or why am I saying these Negroes that's here, what he's referring to is our ancestors that was enslaved during the 18th, 19th century. He's saying, how am I finding their same skulls, their craniums scattered all through Egypt? He's saying these are the same people.
Come on.
That's what he's saying, family. And look what he says on page 66. Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was that the same that it is now, that of servants and slaves. So he's confirming Exodus chapter 1 when it says that we grew exceedingly in the land. So he's saying that, man, we was all over the place. We were baby kids. We didn't die. We multiplied. And we're multiplying all across the place. But it didn't stop there. Because here's another key point. I didn't put it here. Look at here. About the Scythians. He says here, the national characteristics of all these families of man are distinctly figured on the monuments, and all of them, excepting the Scythians and Phoenicians, have been identified in the catacombs. Wait a minute, but these 1948ers are saying that they were in Egypt. But he's saying that he didn't find none of their skulls among the skulls of the catacombs. NASA, we got a problem, right?
Samuel Morgan said no.
This racist guy could have easily said he saw Scythian heads all over the place, because that's who the 1948ers are connected to. The Scythians, connected to the Khazarians. They're the same people. They're the Ashkenazis. That's who they are. One last point here that I want to bring out is the Scythians are the Ashkenazis, and the modern Iranians, guess what? They are not ancient Israelites, and they are not the ancient Persians. Let me say that again, because I'm saying in this awakening spaces, our brothers and sisters, we start putting out all kinds of stuff like, well, you know what, the Iranians didn't do anything wrong to the Israelites. The Persians, they didn't do anything wrong to the Israelites. Come on, family. Number one, the Iranians, those people are not the same as the ancient people. When you start understanding the multiple Arabic invasions along with the Ottoman invasion. And truth be told, read the scripture. Israel was subjected to the Persians. They weren't free. They allowed them to rebuild Jerusalem, restored the temple, but they were still subjected to the Persians. How did the Persians have power and authority over the Israelites? It's because they defeated the Babylonians. And Israel transitioned from the Babylonian captivity to what? The Persian captivity. Anyway, just thought I'd put that out there, family. And to further prove that the Ashkenazis, the Iranians, and the Scythians are the same, look at this source here. Localizing Ashkenazic Jews to primeval villages in ancient Iran lands of Ashkenaz. Right? Ashkenaz, Iranian, and Mountain Jews, and basically saying that they all have similar. And it says, and Turks exhibit the highest genetic similarity to the Ashkenazi Jews. So it says the Greeks, the Romans, Iranians, and Turks exhibit the highest genetic similarity to the Ashkenazi Jews. But this is one key point here. The Jews called Ashkenazic an example, the Scythians. And you see here, Irano-Turco-Slavic Jewish merchants. They're the same people, family. I just want to just give that extra piece of information here. Any comments, guys?
I'm just watching the mic break apart when you dropped it.
Now, family, here's the kicker. When you study about Moses, what these modern scholars try to do, they try to make the connection between the 18th dynasty with Moses. There was multiple pharaohs that had the name Moses. Moses simply means in Egypt or Kemet, son of. So if you see Tutmoses, it's son of what? Or son of who? Tut. Right? I gave you some key information from the 13th dynasty. We even saw what? The Asiatic disease in what dynasty? The 13th dynasty. We just read the source from the sources of the admonitions, right? We read out of there the plagues. So in the early Middle East, Middle Kingdom, the 13th dynasty, there is evidence of Semitic settlements all across Northeast Nile Delta. So understanding the 13th dynasty is the key to identifying Moses and the Exodus. So using the last pharaoh of the 13th dynasty, Duty Moses. Doesn't that sound familiar, Berean scholar?
Yep.
Duty Moses. Josephus makes reference, page 59. Now, of course, he has it's translated here, Thermuthis, right? This is Duty Moses. Hereupon, it was the Thermuthis imposed this name Moses upon him from what had happened when he was put in the river. For the Egyptians called water by the name of Mo, and such are as saved out of it, and by the name of Usis, supposed to be Moses, that's what it connects to. So by putting these words together, they imposed the name upon him, and he was by the confession of all according to God's prediction, as well for his greatness. All right, but the key is, family, part of the confusion is how they transliterated Josephus' works. It's almost like a lot of the doctrine, you have to go through layers to get to the actual truth, because transliteration is at the mercy of those that are doing it. What translator, whatever words they choose, that's what they go with. They make a world of a difference. Go ahead, Berean scholar.
Not by accident. What they choose is to keep and deceive and try to place themselves.
Absolutely. Sister Kara, any comments?
No, you're absolutely right. I agree with both of you.
And so let's get to a key point here. Let me see here.
Planned Parenthood.
Right? This is Kanye West. You guys already know this. I'll play it real quick.
Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics, with the KKK to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who the people known as the race Black really are.
Okay, so you heard what he said. He made reference to the Planned Parenthood agenda. But where did he get that from? Because he didn't just make that up. This is the guy, the CEO for the Sefer Publishing.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
All right. So he said the same thing about Planned Parenthood. So Exodus chapter 1, verse 15 and 16, we see how we start dealing with the midwives. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrews, Abar, the midwives, Yalad, of which the name of one was Shaparah, right? That's our ancient pronunciation. In the Israeli, Shifra, and the name of the other, Pawa'ah, in the Israeli, Pua, right? So I want you guys to make a note of this, right? I'm going to fast forward for the sake of time. This is dealing with abortion and all of that. I'm not going to really deal with all of this here for the sake of time, but I do want to get to a key piece of information to show that you're going to see their names here inside this source, right? Let's go to this. Let's go to this source here. This is another source coming from the 13th dynasty, that's making reference to the 13th dynasty. This is called a papyrus or papyrus, however you want to pronounce it, of the late Middle Kingdom in the Brooklyn Museum, right? Now, look at what it says here. Now, in this book, right, it highlights Shemitic names among the Egyptians. So how is it that this is supposed to be a made-believe, a made-up story, a fable, but yet we have another source of the same period that's going to show Hebrew names among Egyptian writings? Well, look at this here. Page 96. Remember I asked you guys to make reference to two names. One of them was Issachar, and the other one was Asher, right? Or Asher. I'm going to show you their names here, right? Look at here. It's breaking it down. It says Sapar or Saparah, right? Sapar, from the familiar Hebrew and Aramaic stem, Sapar, and we're dealing with the continents, and normally you'll fill this in with the but Sapar or Saparah, meaning to be fair, beautiful. In Arabic, it says to shine. All right, but here's the key. Ultimately, the same as Aramaic Sapphira or Sapphira, and certainly the name as Shifra or Shaparah. Name of one of the two Hebrew midwives of Exodus 1 and 15. So you see, they make a reference to a Hebrew name here. Well, let's see another name that's here. Remember I told you guys make a note of that name, Issachar? Look at here. Cannot be separated from the biblical Hebrew name, Yah-Sakir or Yah-Sakar, Issachar or Sakar. All right. We already know who Issachar is. Genesis 30 and 18. I'm not going to read all of this. We know who Issachar is, right? One of the sons of Jacob. We see it here in Genesis 30, 18. But let's see another name that's found in here. It's plenty of them, but I want to show you some key names, Israelite names here that you can recognize right off the back. Hey, these are Israelite names. Look at here. Asher. The masculine Asher, name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel, and their ancestor. It is now certain that both names are derived from the stem which appears in Hebrew, Oser, in other words, good fortune. It also says happy, blessed. So who is Asher? Well, we see it here. Genesis 30, 13. Another one of whose? Jacob's sons. All right. All right, so this is giving more information on the midwives, but I'm not getting into all of this for the sake of time. But I did want to, just what we covered. Let me see if this is a good stopping point. Yeah, I think this would be a good stopping point right here. But family, I just did want to show you some key names. We saw the midwives there, as far as Shapira or Shafra. We saw her here. We saw Issachar. We saw Asher. Those are Israelite names. Those are Hebrew names. There's more, but I just wanted to just take the time out and show you a couple of them in there. All right. So any comments, guys? Well, before you do so, I didn't know I had some super chats sitting here. Let me acknowledge these couple of super chats. Peace and blessing to Tasha. Thank you for the super sticker. Elder, thank you again for the love and support. This is wonderful. I always learn much from you, Pastor. Thank you, Elder. Thank you for teaching me with the instructions of the bread pudding. Thank you. Really appreciate you. All right. Sister Carol Berin Scholar, any comments?
No, I love the fact that when you bring out more and more evidence to show Judah that there's something special about you, and that the facts prove that you are Judah.
Amen. I totally concur. And also, you prove that you can be where you are in your captivity and celebrate the feast.
Amen.
That's the most important thing out of all of this.
Exactly. And family, don't allow people to talk you out of doing something that's very simple to do. Because if they can easily talk you out of it, that means that you were never committed to it from the beginning.
That's part of being set apart.
And the truth is not convenience. That's why they call it the inconvenience truth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to take you out of your comfort zone. But it's really, it's not hard. Go ahead, Sister Carol, sound like you was getting ready to say something.
Yes, I was going to say, yes, the truth separates you. That's your separation. It's the truth. When you walk in truth, it automatically separates you from the untruth, or the non-believers. It sets you apart.
Absolutely. And family, don't get caught up with this this Kemet community, because that conscious community has proven that they're very unconscious. You know, their third eye is wearing a contact lens.
Whoa.
You know, don't get caught up in all of that stuff. You'll find over there, as Sister Carol made it a point to say, alluded to, that they don't read.
No, they don't.
They don't read. You'll see the same problem in the Muslim groups, as far as Islam. You'll see it in Judaism. Most don't read.
In the conscious community,
that needs LASIK.
yeah. Well, they both a product of this, of the result of our people being colonized and brainwashed with white supremacy, where they jumped on anything that sounded like that gives us identity, although that's not the true identity. They jumped on it.
And the funny part about all of it is, the commit community celebrate animals and paganism. They had not even come to conclusion of that. But you celebrating animals on top of human bodies. Snakes. That's their gods. That's who they bow down to.
Hey, in their minds, anything but the white man.
Exactly.
So they'll bow down to anything. And that's why, you know, I think with Berin Scholar, what he stated is, you know, and some of us have made an assertive effort to try to get so far away from the influence of our oppressors that we walk right into an oppressive system.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the frying pan, right into the fire.
Yep. It's burning up. The roof is on fire.
Family, this is why we want to take time out tonight to do this lesson. There's more that we can teach from it. We're not going to do it tonight because it's so many different things to teach you about the Exodus, right? And my apologies. You guys asked for my Cash App. I forgot to post it. Let me post it here. My Cash App is not the same. Cash App did some crazy stuff with my original account, so I don't even use it now. Let me see here. They're trying to force me to make my account into a business account.
That's crazy.
And I literally had back and forth with them. I was telling them, like, you can't make me open up a business account because people are sending me gifts. I said, show me the law.
Yeah, and I've never even heard that before. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, it came out of the clear all of a sudden. I was trying to send a cash app to my daughter, and I couldn't. It said that my account was restricted,
Wow.
and they were
Well,
saying that
who messes
And
with money?
these people even talk. You can't even call these people on the phone. They only talk to you.
I called them. I actually called them, and I talked to a representative, but their process of escalating, I couldn't talk to a person.
Exactly.
They said that they'll send me an email as they investigate the matter, and that was it. My only option is to, basically, in a nutshell, convert my account to a business account.
Wow.
So they tell you they were busy now. They had to go back to their bunkers.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm not bowing down to Pharaoh.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
And I want to say thank you. I see a cash app that came in. I want to say thank you, Sister Monica, for the love and support. Thank you for the cash app. Really appreciate you. Thank you again. Really appreciate you. All right. Yeah, I just got a notification that a cash app came through. Thank you again, Sister Monica. Really appreciate the love and support. And family, we're going to keep this momentum going. We're going to do more of this. We're going to continue to walk it out, or as we get closer and closer to the Pesach. Keep us in prayer, because a lot of crazy things are going on. We purchased a piece of property. You guys already know we purchased it May of last year, and that property value is worth over 5 times the amount that we initially paid for it. And the issue is not us; it's the I would just say the Caucasians, right? They have an issue because of who purchased the land, and the status it places you in. And make a long story short, I went before a board in this area with getting some approvals for what we're going to do on the property, for us just even a simple label. And the community of these Caucasians and their whole good old boys showed up, and they start using buzzwords like, "Oh, we're afraid that crime is going to increase, and security. We're afraid that people want to come from his property over to our property and, vandalize and all this other stuff." Well, just a week ago, out there with the landscaper who just began to break ground about 3 days ago, and we walk in the land, and guess what I noticed? A tree was chopped down on our property. And that tree was worth almost $10,000. Some of you guys may not be familiar with this. White oak. Make sure you have an assessment of all the trees on your property before you just chop trees down, right? But that tree, the landscaper, the landscaper that was out there, he looked at that tree that was chopped down and hacked up. He said, "Look, that's a money tree right there." He said, "At least $8,000. He said that tree is used to make furniture and barrels for wine. So what I did was I called the police, and I had them fill out a report, and they was ready to arrest the good old boys. But I used wisdom, like, hey, give them a warning, but write it down. I want a report. So that way now, guess what I'm going to do? Take it to the board to show that the same people that came up here stating how they were fearful of crime came
Or
on
committed.
my property and committed a crime.
Projection.
So keep us in prayer, family. When you start, when you're getting into those type of spaces, you know, there's a lot of people that are mad, not because of the land being sold, but who is sold to.
And that's the whole thing, Pastor. That projection. They want to project on us what they are. You know, the crime's going to happen to them, but they're the one committing crimes. That we're violent, but they're the one that always been the violent people. That we'll come in and cause calamities and kill people. But the only, like we said earlier, out of 190 something countries in the world, there's only 8 countries have not been colonized by them. And not because they didn't try, those 8 countries fought back and won. So every country in the world have been colonized by these people who say they're the innocent one. There's the one that they've been oppressed.
Absolutely. And I hold dear to the passage in Jeremiah 29, I believe, down at about verse 10, when it told us, the Most High told us while we're in this captivity in Babylon, told us to what? Build, marry our children, and seek the peace of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's what we're doing. We're seeking the peace. We're doing all what the Most High told us to do. And we're being strategic. So, you know, it's a whole different ballgame when you start dealing with owning property like this, because it puts you in a certain status. So this is why we have to use wisdom. But yeah, we're dealing with the good old boys network. And Passover, Pasach, the first weekend of May. Any of you guys that are interested, shoot me an email and we'll give you more information on that. You know, we're not going to celebrate this year on the property because the structures won't be in place. I'm sure they will not be in place by that time, but we will at least have the land cleared that we can all go out there and just you know, celebrate. You know, by that time we may have a structure in the works of being put on there, but it won't be complete. It'll be completed by the time we have tabernacles. That's for sure. Right. So again, the problem is it puts us into a status, and that status is millionaire status. And I'm not saying that just to be saying it. I'm saying it. I mean, to say it to you know, to brag about it. No, that's not what I'm doing. But when you have a piece of property that suddenly the value goes from what you pay for to over 5 times the amount that you paid for, it puts you in a certain status, and now it puts you in a certain place of threat to them. Because technically, they can't tell me what to do on my land or our land, put it that way. Anyway, let's leave that alone. Pasach Tabernacle is going to be very special this year as well. All praises to the Most High. Any final comments? Going to go start with you, Sister Carol, then Berean Scholar, you have the floor next, and we're going to wrap it up.
Just pay attention to the signs around you and stay in the Word. That's my best advice to you. Stay in the Word. Stay prayed up. We're in some evil times, more than ever.
Absolutely. Berean Scholar?
I'm gonna quote Yahweh Shai when he said, "Don't be shocked when they hate you, because they hated him first." Don't be shocked when they hate you, because they hated him first. As a believer, as a Christian, I thought that, because we're Christian and we do this, that's why they were persecuted because of Christianity. That's why they hate. No. Coming into the truth, I see what he was saying. And that's why we need to continue to hear more and more that you are Judah, you are the Israel, you are the people of the Most High, and we need to walk in and be the light that we're supposed to be, because all these potholes are put here to keep us from that. And I thank Pastor for keep bringing this information to open our eyes. When I heard this day, and I called you, tell you, the book of Exodus is not Exodus, it's the names. They didn't want us to know about the names. They're still trying to keep stuff from us.
And look what they did with the name Israel. They polluted the name Israel.
We need to know and say it again. You are the apple of the Most High's eye, and He wants you. I'm going to drop the link tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about the same thing. The bones tell the truth. We're going to talk about some of the same things that we talked about. We're going to continue what we talked about last Sunday, but there's no getting around evidence. There's no getting around evidence. And my last thing, I'll shut up, Pastor. When you read in the book, that book, I forgot the last one you read, that when it said the poor in Egypt were rich and the rich were poor. I said, that was for the wealth of the wicked was laid up for the righteous. And that's what Yah's telling us. Yah's telling, don't worry. We're gonna see these plagues. We're gonna see these calamities. We're gonna see these bad things happen. But if you stay righteous and you walk in his laws, statutes, commandments, I'll put a wall between you and them. And when he does come with us and we go with the Most High, we ain't going empty-handed. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. And what Berean scholars referring to is what you see on your screen, family, where it says, behold, the poor of the land have become rich.
Yes.
And the possessor of the property has become one who has nothing. Confirming Deuteronomy 12, rather, excuse me.
And I see the 1% that owns everything in Babylon will have nothing. And guys, you know about the 1%, how much they own.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my organ. Where's my organ?
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And so family, there you have it. Really appreciate the love and support tonight. I know I shifted on the lesson, but I believe this would be more beneficial to knowing this. I could always upload a video about Uganda, but really getting clarity about our heritage, because this is our heritage.
Yes.
And we need to know this. The more we understand this, the more things have become clear with the things that we see playing out before us. As Berean scholar alluded to, when he mentioned about the 1%, the wealth of the wicked, that's what right now they're hoarding. They're hoarders.
Yes.
Something is going to give. And that thing that's going to give is when they realize they can't take it with them. They think that they could take it with them by handing it down to someone else in their bloodline. That's how they feel. But guess what? All of that's going to shift. And we have the power to speak pestilence on this land and other lands. That's Revelation chapter 11. Look it up. But with that being said, go ahead, Berean. I thought I heard you.
When you're reading the plagues in the book, the people of Egypt were being affected, but the Pharaoh and the princes was in the palace. They weren't being affected until the young ones were dashed against the wall, until it hit them. Then after that, that's when the wealth transfer happened. So
remember, like Berean scholar's point, we read the source. He was stubborn.
Exactly.
Until what? It started coming to their doorsteps.
And right now in our country, those people in control don't care about what happened to you, paying more money in the grocery store. They don't care about that. But when it happened, when the Most High bring it on them, then it's a little bit of change.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Family, really appreciate you guys. And, we always close out with from Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14. Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker. We have to hold our peace. The Hebrew word in the text is karash, which means be quiet. We have to learn how to operate and navigate with calculated silence. We have to stop projecting everything out in the opening, telling the people when we're coming and what we're doing. Just let the Most High move. But again, the Most High will fight for us, but we have to hold our peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10. Explains the genealogy of Shem was a black in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis, verse 30. Abraham steps on the being the descendant of Shem, which is of God. Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham had four sons. One was named Kim. Please explain. Abraham, Isaac was the Jacob had 12 sons, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.